Spooky, scary skeletons. Are they really that spooky? I mean, my man's got the Tweedledum hat, got socks on here. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. Sunday night, so of course we're jumping into some reviews. Let's see what people have in store for us, because there have been some wild reviews. What's going on, chat? How's everybody doing out there? Now you can make a clickbait title and thumbnail. I mean, I could. I don't even know if Scorn is going to end up on YouTube, truthfully. I think I might, excuse me. I might just do a reaction video, or not really a reaction, but just do a video based on my thoughts for it. Because I still have a lot of things to process for it. It annoys me. It turns out that, yes, in fact, if you did not get the art book, you miss a lot of the game lore. There's a lot of things that are just straight up not in there. And you can see where the building blocks, or what's being presented or intended to be presented, are there. But unfortunately, it doesn't look like... I don't know. My interpretation of the ending and the world as a whole was wildly different because it's lacking all that context. And that's what it boils down to. Not a problem. Yeah, so Chad, this is definitely the points redemption, because it's broken. This happened not too long ago. Just basically, I can't connect, like, OBS can't talk to the site, Triggerfire specifically, to pull the stuff in. So it's technically giving a gateway timeout, so I don't know if the site's down at the moment. So I'm just going to turn it off for now, just to warn everybody, so don't waste points on the point redemptions for now. Or at least the ones that pop up on screen. Yeah, it's my health bar. I don't know if people could see it, but, like, up here, it said bad gateway, or gateway timeout. I don't know if people could see it. This happened once before, and like I said, I think the site just happens to be down at the time. But anyway, let's get to what we're actually here for, chat, and that's some Phobies action. We actually have a whole bunch of game reviews to do. I mean, we always have game reviews, but specifically, we have a whole bunch of game reviews from subscribers, so I gotta get those in first, and then we'll work our way down the list. Sivadas here, rocking the... I love how... Look how happy Ted is. Ted is a happy guy. He is very happy. His marriage is clearly successful. He's very... Look at this smile. Look at this smile. He's a happy dude. So it's Ted versus Ted here. Quick aside, everybody, before we get into the actual content, I was accepted into the Phobies Content Affiliate Program, the content creator program, you might call it. Shout out to the Phobies team, and thank you for that. But the reason I'm telling you, everybody out there, dear viewer, dear listener, is to let everybody know that I do receive some compensation from the Phobies team as a result of being part of that program. Now, I loved Phobies before, and I still love Phobies now, and I expect I will still continue to love Phobies in the future. So look forward to more Phobies content coming from Random's Thoughts. So now, on with the show. So Sivadas is kicking off our game review night this particular week, and the notes here, I definitely had a level advantage, but I kept my opponent locked into 9 keys for a bunch of turns, and my Chuck did the rest. Chuck tends to take over games, which is a discussion that came up offline, and I meant to share on stream, and maybe we will tonight, we'll see. But the comparison between Jar and Spud, and then Chuck and Unbearable, it was an interesting comparison that was brought up. Jill doesn't look happy in the avatar, really? Secret Phobies boss, yep. Yeah, we finished the game last night, Krayos. We did finish the game. What do I think about scoring now? I put some of my spoilered thoughts in Discord. I might do a video for it, Onda. We'll talk about it after the game, or in between the games. So, Sivadas here is our hero in the orange trunks. Honestly, I have yet to use Gravedigger on this map, and I really need to. I gotta remember the next time I'm on this map to force Gravedigger early specifically, because I think that it does allow for a lot of cool plays. Not just breaking one of these early blocks, although that's relevant, but you get the Gravedigger in position and then block off where, say, the Bowmangles or the Henrietta is, and it sections the map in a way that makes your opponent's life very complex. I use Gravedigger and Numbskull as a second player. I think you must have been saying it on it, because somebody said that yesterday. Somebody said that yesterday. Believe it or not, it's not the most ignoring one keys, because here's the thing. When I look at stats for one keys like this, obviously you get a lot of razor mouths, but I don't think Gravedigger is the most utilized phobie on this map, at least out of the games. I've observed like 15, 20 games or so. So the interesting thing here is that Sivadas allowed the Gravedigger to get hit by the Henrietta. I know there's a lot of people out there that are probably freaking out, but realistically, I'm still of the opinion that the Henrietta poison is virtually irrelevant. Don't get me wrong, you don't want something poisoned if you can help it. It's not you can completely ignore it. It's clearly doing something. It's just not doing that much. Also, timeout, chat. Is this a horse? You think this is supposed to be a horse, or is this supposed to be a dragon? It looks like a horse to me, because this looks like the bridle or whatever that goes around the horse's head so you can have the reins. And then this looks like the mane. It's pretty much a horse. It looks like a horse. The first time when I was zoomed out, I'm like, wow, that's a dragon head. It kind of looks like a dragon. But then I zoomed in and I'm like, oh, the teeth aren't pointy. You know, the other aspects I was talking about. Quick wall, snowballs, fireballs, sleep, stab, Bowmangles. But I'm interested to see, I like this map so far. If you're watching this on YouTube, let me know how you, or chat, let me know how you feel. I think this map is pretty cool. Now, this is interesting from Sivadas. I do like this. Obviously, you're continuing pot shots on the Bowmangles. The snowball's retreated so far that you'll have time to react to preserve your jar. This is the position where I think Gravedigger, I guess you could say it truly shines. There are other maps where it's strong as well, but look at all of the area that Sivadas has to work with. But Bad Guy has to funnel through this weird choke. I mean, I guess it's not a weird choke. They're all choke points. And they're basically all the same. So you have these choke points that they have to funnel through, and they can't quite group up the way you want, where Sivadas is pretty much available to do, or has the option to do, whatever the hell they want. Now, the thing here is Panic Point Equilibrium, which has happened a lot on this map for me. You do get a brief Panic Point advantage here, but quite clearly the cat's going to come in and replace this cowbell once it's eliminated. Now, the question is Bad Guy going to advance and thereby let the... Because... Why did this... Okay, so the snowball had to... What I was going to question is why not have the jar where the snowball is, but the murder wing is here? Because that means that the murder wing could one-shot this jar. Otherwise, I'd say have jar where snowball is, and then you can punish the Bowmangles coming in, but that's just not an option. I mean, you don't really punish it, but... You like the map, Sgrunkly? I think I like this map. Well, I don't know that I like it, but I think this is a solid map, I guess is the better way to put it. And I think that's a better judge. That compared to, say, Coolrophobia, which personally I think is an awful map right now. This is exactly the play that I was talking about. And I think this is where, yep, Sivadas drops Chuck. And this is where we're going to start seeing trapping your opponent, because they have 9 keys. Until they eliminate a phobie from their team, whichever one it happens to be, they effectively have 0 keys, because they can't commit anything else to the board. And if that's the case... Alright, turning down one of the lights, because I'm looking at me and I'm super washed out. I still kind of am from the other side, but whatever. Point is that you've invalidated 9 of your opponent's keys just by not interacting with them. You have a 3 panic point advantage, because they had this weird, awkward setup to try and get the cat into position. So now they really need to suicide the cat. Coolrophobia is cool when you're going first. I just don't like I think the play pattern is bad on that map so far. I'm hoping that there's a counter. I haven't really thought about it yet. Like I said, YouTube, if you have opinions on these, feel free to contradict me. Chuck is rumbling all the way up to the front. Almost all the way up to the front. But this is what blue player needed to do. And arguably Sivadas was in the same position because they still had 2 keys remaining. That Gravedigger was not doing much for the rest of the game. Maybe could have survived one more turn or like positioned differently so that way I could get a hit in, but odds are no. It could have possibly sat back here. So Gravedigger was here. Gravedigger has 174 health, so it's going to die to the poison. Clearly the cat is coming in. I don't know that... Like, do you have to get the 2-drop online this turn? It doesn't really matter because you're going to clearly kill the cat and bad guy has no interest in advancing. But you possibly could have used the Gravedigger to eliminate this and then had extra moves, actions left over for the rest of your team, but does it really matter? I don't think it really matters. Now, this is interesting that there's an active choice to not eliminate the cat, which is playing more into what I was describing a minute ago. Even that brief tempo advantage of, hey, you're stuck, it might have been good enough, but Sivadas is making a really cool play here by going all in and actively choosing to not kill this stuff. And for a surprise plot twist, the enemy has a Evo 3.0. At this point, I don't know if it would matter. So even panic points, but here's the rub. Chuck is in range of the heart, and this is almost a 600 damage Chuck. That's a lot of panic points worth of damage. Now, bad guy is going in, and now is probably forcing Sivadas' hand. You can't, like, completely ignore this, I don't think. But still. Maybe Sivadas is. They are completely... I mean, you're winning the race. You have now a panic point advantage. You're already in position. These things ultimately do less damage. Well, maybe not. But, well, 2 of these is 1 Chuck attack. This will be able to fireball for almost 1 Chuck attack. Not quite. And then this is in position. So, you'll be a little bit ahead as bad guy in damage. But you obviously are getting positioning here. If bad guy decides to peel off, they got to make something happen real fast. If you're watching this at home, which I kind of assume you are, maybe not. I don't run your life. I'm not your dad. But if you're watching this, this is an important, excuse me, this is a very relevant tactic to keep in mind. I have no idea why they chose to put the cat there instead of keep it alive, but whatever. So panic point equilibrium, we now get a pterodactyl is the phobie of choice, but 2198. Yes, Sivadas is out of, but this Chuck has 2200 health. It's gonna take a lot of damage. See, like, this cat could have survived. If this Chuck squeaks by with, you know, 100 health, they're gonna be pissed. This is a great body block, too. This is a cool heads-up play. Shout out to Sivadas. Body block him with the Gesundheit because that means that this pterodactyl can't immediately start getting hits. Now, ultimately, it didn't... I mean, it kind of mattered. It saved a little bit of damage because you had to deal with the Gesundheit. Creep comes in to finish it off, but the damage has already been done at this stage. 1,000 health. I think we know where this one's going, chat. Well played, Sivadas. This was really cool and showcased multiple things that are done at higher levels, trying to position your opponent, orchestrate the board to your advantage. So well done. By the time this makes it to YouTube, it's going to be, well, the elections may have actually passed, but in the event that they have not, and you're able, get registered. If you're already registered, get registered to vote, because the elections in the United States at the end of this year are crucial. They're going to determine the future of this country, and subsequent elections down the line are, of course, going to matter equally as much, but we got to get through this one. The Republican Party is a threat to democracy. They are a threat to this country. They are a threat to pretty much everyone, because they're hell-bent on stripping rights from people and destroying this country. That's the bottom line. You can see it in what they champion, what they want to vote for, what they want to enact. So I'm imploring people, vote, vote, vote. Make sure you vote for everything, all the initiatives, all of the officials. Research what they're going to vote for, what they stand for, what they intend to do. It is crucial. It is imperative. This must happen. It must. Secondly, if you have the opportunity to, find a charity, donate to charity, whether it's local, it's national, it's international. There's always good causes that need help. They need time from people. They need resources, whether it's money or goods. There are tons of ways that you can help out. Make an effort to help your other humans. And that includes, as we started out with, voting. And like I said, if you're watching this, I would go back and take note of that, because those sort of scenarios come up more often than you think. And it's things that you may be opening yourself up to that you don't realize. Namely, maxing yourself out when you're not prepared to immediately trade something out on the next turn, or you're about to lose something anyway. Like, clearly my opponent is going to eliminate this phobie, so I'll have a free slot next turn. So that way, if they do run something on the board, and clearly Sivadas was banking for multiple turns to get that chuck, I am prepared. I have the ability to respond. Bad guy got locked out for probably... They might have assumed that the cat was going to get targeted down, and then had the oh no moment when Sivadas actually just left it alive. So well played. Yeah, they were underleveled comparatively. Like, this is a 20 level difference, so it's not... But I think despite that, there's stuff to be learned about the tactics. It's definitely not the farthest disparity we've seen in the past. 1,000 damage right on this man's face, true story. What do I think about a long-range specialist phobie that can hit a phobie beside it, but can't hit a phobie beside it, like Mortar and Clash of Clans? We were talking about this offline, and this might be a larger discussion, but I don't think the game needs more range 3 or... well, assuming if it's a mortar type thing, maybe range 4, but range 3 or higher, or movement 3 or higher phobies. I think there just straight up shouldn't be anymore. I don't think we need them. The only way I could see it getting introduced is if it has some sort of... It'll obviously come down to the balance. I don't think... Because look at it this way. How often does a tractor or an Oculus, repeller, jar, chuck, etc. have to hit something that's literally one space next, like the adjacent space? It happens. Absolutely happens. Does it happen a lot? Probably not, because they zone things out because in the advance. Now, in this case, if you could just straight up run to it, stand on its doorstep, and it can't do anything other than back up and shoot, maybe... I'd have to see the actual phobie. I don't hate the idea in a vacuum, but I think Phobies has a plethora of long-rangey things that make some maps excruciating. Xylo has become like that, where a lot of it boils down to who has more long rangers, who has more yoinks. And I think it's in a very uncomfortable spot as a result. Personally, but... One cost that can't attack, I like leaving that on my opponent's board when they're locked and use it to reposition my phobies when the time is right. You're talking about Boomer? Because I could see that. Range 4 is crazy? Yeah, that would be insane. You know what? Range 5, you can hit from the vault. Why not? What if a phobie worked like Gonzo or Paddles, where you can increase a phobie's range by 1 as 3-turn cooldown, 2-turn lock? I think the numbers for it could be tweaked. We did talk about that before. Like, that idea has come up. Again, I don't hate the idea in a vacuum, but in general, these ideas are dangerous. Because it's not necessarily... How do I put this? They're force multipliers. Because if your opponent doesn't have very specific answers... Because what you need to do when you come up with new phobia ideas, and this isn't directed at anybody in particular, it's not just, oh, well, this is a cool idea. And don't get me wrong, lots of games start with, oh, wouldn't it be cool if? And that's fine. But when you're talking about trying to actually balance it, what is the type of play that is a response? Phobies, given its nature, could argue that, yes, you can have these niche phobies where they literally exist strictly to answer, like phobie B answers phobie A, and that's its sole purpose in life. And arguably that could work, but then you run into the problem of the Rusty problem, where the applications are so narrow that it's just terrible, right? So the question is, in these hypothetical scenarios, can these phobies be answered by generic phobies? Your murder wings, your cassowaries, your jar cannons, things that pretty much everybody has access to. And if that is true, personally, I'd say, okay, fine, let's do it, because then somebody can alter their strategy to address it, and you're not just getting crapped on because of collections. Now, it can always be said, because any phobie that's actually strong and interesting is going to require specific answers or manipulate your opponent's strategy to such an egregious degree that you can't actually reasonably call it an answer. And that's the thing. We can debate about what's reasonable. So, bottom line is maybe. Tractor and Repeller with their abilities effectively 4 range if it hits something at 3 range. Depending on the scenarios, yeah. We're missing a lob debuff phobie. We have Leapercorn. That counts. Which is worse, Electric Cat or Rusty? Rusty. Full stop. Electric Cat is fine. Electric Cat is fine. On level. The thing is Electric Cat has this issue. And a number of phobies. A lob damage debuff. I know, Daco. I'm just kind of busting chops. The problem with Electric Cat is everybody went, well, this thing sucks, and nobody levels it. So then it's never, again, in a position where it can reasonably fight stuff. If you go back to Fright Night, we saw Electric Cat a lot, and Electric Cat put in a lot of work. Electric Cat actually worked out really well. Why did it work out well? Because everything was level 1. So it was always in a prime position to do what it's supposed to do. Electric Cat can one-shot a same level jar. Can it? I think that's accurate. I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but that sounds about right. Oh, I got my free jack. Leapercorn making a random enemy across the entire map taste the rainbow. It's not quite a random enemy, though. It's namely Heartbreaker. Leapercorn is actually a great example to say, okay, if we assume that Heartbreaker is busted. Like, imagine Heartbreaker didn't exist and somebody in chat was suggesting, what if a phobie could teleport a phobie next to itself? And it could throw stuff in pits or whatever. That sounds busted on paper, right? And then we would debate about the numbers, the health, and the attack, and the range, and all this stuff. And then somebody goes, well, what if you just have a phobie? I don't know if you could hear the puppy. He's dreaming. He just made a squeak because she's dreaming about something. What if we had a phobie that just countered activated abilities? And that's my question to you, chat, because we'll move on to the next game review after this. But chat, YouTube, let me know. Let's assume that Leapercorn is the counter to Heartbreaker. You can argue about whether it is, but for the sake of argument, assume that that is the case. Is that an acceptable gameplay interaction? Because otherwise, realistically, you just have a really hard time getting on a Heartbreaker. Can it be beaten? Yes. But it's very challenging in a variety of scenarios. Because obviously the Heartbreaker player is probably not just going to offer it up, right? So that's an encapsulation of counter phobies as a gameplay mechanic versus balancing the phobies to get beaten by any phobie as opposed to a phobie or a subset of phobies. I think the devs are thinking, so if it teleports someone beside it, can also deal 500 damage. Maybe that was the initial idea, but there is zero chance that they were caught unaware about the teleporting into the pit behavior. There's just no way, like, they 100% knew that was going to happen. You got to give devs credit, whether it's for Phobies or other games. You got to give devs credit. They know what they're doing most of the time. you, figurative you, me included, may not agree with what they're doing. And there's a difference between those two concepts where I don't like this because I don't like it versus I don't like this because it's bad. And most of the time, remember, this is their job. They do this professionally. They show up to work. They work however many hours each day, every week, every month, every year, and they're putting in the effort. Devs being lazy or something, and again, I'm not saying anybody's saying that, but this is just a general thing because it comes up a lot in video games and gaming in general. Well, the devs are just lazy. It's like, no, they're not. You just don't know all of the details as to what went into those decisions. Now, some of them could be gameplay related, some of them could be business related, but they are both valid reasons for a game to turn out the way it did. It may still suck, whatever the thing is, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't have a legitimate reason for the process that led to the final product. Firkin has the same damage as Unbearable. I think it does. The health, attack, and range don't even really hurt Heartbreaker. It's just 2 turns it takes to use the ability, otherwise you'd be busted. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty close. They didn't know what they were doing with Beauty pre-nerf. I don't know. Honestly, I have to wonder if full disclosure and other updates were on their mind and be like, okay, well, can we make it here? And then they decided, well, no, we have to do something. Or maybe the calculation was just, it was a multiplier instead of just additive for the way they were stacking or determining costs and stuff like that. Still wonder why they nerfed Scritch and Rocket Man. I have to imagine statistically they were overperforming. And that's why. One of the cats looking at a spider on the wall. I slapped the spider to the next dimension. The cat didn't bother hunting it. Alright, so we're zoning in here. Dogewhal is our hero. Going second on Phobos. 1 spicy doggo and 1 fat lizard are the notes. So I imagine we're going to see a snowball and we're going to see a Barzilla. Place your bets because, yeah, we're going to see a snowball here. I don't like this position in the Gravedigger. I'm very curious to see what Doge does with this. Normally, I have it on this side, so it's just 1 move closer to the center. That being said, there's often dancing around and a lot of time wasted, so maybe it doesn't matter. So bad guy opened up with Droney. I don't know if that means they're under-leveled and don't have a snowball, or they were intentionally trying to bank, because the second turn play of Ginsting is the common response, the common follow-up for this particular map. Chad, I have to wonder if there's something wrong with my webcam. I don't have any idea why I'm, like... Maybe it is the color shirt I'm wearing or something. It just doesn't seem to pick up the green screen consistently 2 days in a row, and it's driving me insane. Because I will test... Like, I have to get this off my chest because it's driving me nuts, and I don't want to waste time in the game. I test the goddamn green screen off stream all the time, and I'm like, it looks fine. It looks fine. And then I'll load up, and it's like, here, you can't see me. I don't get it. I don't get it. And it doesn't seem, because there are times where I'll wear, like, this is a black shirt. It's just black and white. And there are times where it looks fine. There are times where it looks like crap, and I don't get it. It just pisses me off to no end. The lighting where I stream is not great. I have, like, these side cheapo things that I bought, and the light behind me, because it's a basement, so the ceiling's real close. But, I mean, it's possible, Sgrunkly, but, like, there are other times where it's fine, and the rest of the setup has not been modified. So I don't really have an explanation, I'll be honest. Whatever. Moving on. So anyway, we're getting pretty standard stuff outside of this, but the bank did yield a pterodactyl. The greatest... Suckee, the greatest phobie ever created. So, we get Cassowary, a bank to 9 for Dogewhal. Panic point advantage is in favor of bad guy here, which is a concern. And this is kind of the problem with this map in a lot of scenarios. It is very difficult to stage and invade. You need several turns to build up to a push, it feels like. You push, and then the game is decided on that set of turns. But your opponent, first player, feels as though they have way more opportunities to recover because obviously they're already defending from an advantageous position. So dogewhal, we're getting our second Chuck game in a row. Chuck comes down. I don't have Chuck, so I'm usually popping out Innocuous much earlier than this. Obviously, the range helps the invades. There's the potential... Chat, I believe we found our thumbnail for this, this breakdown. That's actually pretty cool looking. But anyway... what I was going to say is the terror form is active right now on Gravedigger. There might be a play here that you could set up, but there are no boops available right now from our orange player. We'll see. So we get the droney coming out, which is obviously going to die, but it does stem the bleeding here. It's interesting that dogewhal felt they were under enough pressure that this was a concern. I do not understand the Clinico. The primate makes sense on this map. You probably needed a space there, Sgrunkly, to get that. I don't know. I don't really understand the Clinico here. Unless the assumption was Chuck is going to move up and try and take like, chip shots on things. Like, this might just be dead. Now, it will possibly deactivate, you know, like this, the leap will be off. Maybe Meatball is not going to be active. We'll see. I'd click on them, but we're going to find out in like 2 seconds, so. Wait, really? Oh no, bad guy. Not like this. Chat. Does this count as a record? We had to have had phobies that have survived in 1 health before. I don't think you can do this if you leave this thing alive. That is not good. Sorry, DT. I got the channel points turned off because the gateway is not working. And Jenna. Remind me later to refund the points. I don't know if any of the mods are there. But yeah, you can't... I don't think you can do this. Yeah, Womp Womp is right. Emotes will work, but the redemptions for the stuff to pop up on screen, because it looks like Trigger Fire must be having a problem at the moment. Right, let me try and refresh the cache again. Nope. Also, bad guy did the order wrong. Double hit with Terror, put Primate on Stim, slap with everything else. Yes. They absolutely... because moving the Pterodactyl... So Pterodactyl does 501 damage, right? The stim is only 355. So you lost damage in the exchange by doing that and leaping here. Now, you get the advantage of reclaiming the panic point, but the whole goal of this was to kill the Quagmire. I have to assume they started running out of time. What's their arena rank? I'm not sure, Sgrunkly. We'll have to check after this game. This has the makings of a very bad turn for bad guy. Now, it's possible that maybe dogewhal just doesn't have enough stuff on the board to truly punish them. But I have to imagine that this is going to go poorly for them. Get a little spicy puppy action. Get a little creepy bird action. So at the end of the day, this thing is, you know, on the verge of death. But Chuck is well protected. They lose the yoink. The Pterodactyl notably didn't take much damage, but it shouldn't since it's parked on the stem. It's going to heal a ton of health. Bad guy's just going to turret as much as they can with this. I still don't know why it doesn't let you use Leap on a phobie separated by an abyss. I think that was probably just a gameplay decision in design, Jenna, that they said, we're not going to allow this. Would it be game-breaking? I think it would just be different. As compared to what it is today. It would obviously change a fair amount of interactions, because they're... You know, I don't keep those sort of things in mind now, because... you can't do it, so I don't even look for it. But I could absolutely see... So this was a slight mistake. Would it have been better for... The snowball probably should have gone here, right? Because this would have survived. What level is a snowball? Oh, it's a level 1 snowball. I forgot Doge just got snowball recently. So you would have done 4, 6... This actually would have died. It would have died, but you hypothetically could have gone here to reclaim the point. Probably not worth it. The pterodactyl goes down. Barzilla does red. We were talking about the other night. It is a big dummy. But being a big dummy has its advantages, because Bad Breath over here is going to be able to push some damage. At least once, I just needed one Cassowary leap into the abyss to end my turn perfectly, and it would have been cool sacrificing it for it. Yeah, that's why I think it's just it had to have just been a design choice where they said, yeah, this is not going to be something we're going to allow to do. Because I don't think it would be game-breaking, but it would change things. You had to Google which period the pterodactyls were from, Sgrunkly? Nice. Gonna send the pterodactyl back to the Triassic. So the spider didn't really accomplish much, but at the same time, still over 4k health on the heart here. Does this exemplify the Phobos problem? Where bad guy made a mistake here. They could have killed the Quagmire, and then I feel like Doge is in a really awkward position. That being said, maybe Doge just played this really well and said, hey, I'm going to go with big tankies with Barzilla, and I mean, Chuck has the range, and you just walk up, and they have to commit, and then you try and punish it. I just don't know if Quagmire dies. I think that turn is really, the follow-up turn is really bad for Doge. And I'm not trying to take away the victory from dogewhal or anything. I'm just trying to point out, like, what do we learn from this? How do you win going second on Phobos? And based on this game, it felt like, well, if the other guy makes a mistake. It's kind of what it seemed like. I don't know, maybe I'm completely wrong. Call me out if you feel differently. I can't put into words how I can't believe dinosaurs existed on this world for a certain period of time. I mean, I feel like a certain period of time is kind of underselling it. They were there for a long freaking time. Like, they were around for a long time. And technically they still are, because birds are dinosaurs. Apparently you can have pets in Grounded. I feel like I knew that from one of the... I was playing it in beta for a while. But, I don't know. I mean, the game is fun. It's just not my kind of game. No, it's fun to mess around for a little while, but I'm not... It isn't a game that I would personally get obsessed about. Weevils and aphids can become pets. Other than... They had other uses in that game, so... Yeah, fascinating is probably another word. I could say incredible in the sense that it's just like, wow. Well, incredible is basically what Skrunkle's saying, though. Like, it is not credible, but it is impressive. Weevils are just silly little guys. Real-life cassowary is also a dinosaur, I think. Yeah, probably. In a perfect key exchange, who goes second should always win because it's an upgraded phobie. Yeah, I guess I see what you're saying, Akune. Because in my head, I thought you were originally... I finished your statement in my head before I actually read it all, which was, in a perfect key exchange, whoever goes second should win because they have more phobies. But it's kind of the same thing. It's just... I don't know if you're specifically talking about Phobos or in general. You can give them armor, pet them, and use them to store things? Really? Good luck with that, Sgrunkly. Good luck with that. I feel like that's not going to work out. All right, chat. We'll get in one more before I think I gotta take a quick break. I mean, that's true, Jenna, but there's life forms on this planet that, the biodiversity on this planet alone is fascinating. Like, it's actually spectacular how many different forms of life, how many different biomes, and how they've evolved and did exist prior when the conditions were different. And yes, you can see the lineages of modern flora and fauna in prehistoric ones, but there are ones that had evolved into certain niches, and then obviously the conditions changed, so those niches disappeared, or humans got involved and caused the animals to disappear. But every time I think about things out there, like out in space, I think about the depths of the ocean, or I think about deep in the forests, or even deserts, or just in the ground that we haven't found. And I'm not talking like, oh, there's another civilization living in the Marianas Trench or something. Just like, we haven't explored all of the reaches of this planet, which is incredible to think about. Like, it's amazing. It's different because other planets are different ecosystems, so we just forget about all the normal laws of life we've seen here on this planet. Just imagine. Yeah, no, I hear what you're saying, Jenna. So we're back on Phobos. This time our hero, still in the orange trunks, is Renamon. I feel like everybody's submitting Phobos games just to be like, see? You can win going second on Phobos. You can win going second. The notes here is when a random heart rush works. This was during me rushing games. I'm guessing to get them in at the end of the season? I'm not sure. Alright, so answer from our hero here is weird. So they do respond in the normal fashion of Snowball Gravedigger, but not sending it to cap this panic point. Now, granted, bad guy opened 111 instead of also Snowball whatever, so ultimately, we end up with a similar configuration to a quote-unquote normal opener, just due to, like, quantity of panic points taken and that sort of thing. But still a little weird. Still very weird. So Quagmire's the response. I do kind of like Quagmire's helping lead the charge here to take the center because it's so tanky. We saw in the last game that it could have easily gone down given a slight variation in bad guy's approach. But the Quagmire here makes sense. Now, unfortunately, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 panic points to 1. This is going really... Okay, why did this snowball not go here? Just so it wouldn't die? Because this could have come here. This would do like 1600. Yeah, because if you put it here, the Hevo kills it and then gets pulled out of range. What this Ray Chargel should have done was 1, 2, 3, 4 gone here, maybe? No, it could have gone here. It goes here. Then that means that it can still target this. Then you can hit it with this. 16 and 5 is 21. You wouldn't kill it. Actually, I think you would. So you put the snowball here. They kill it with Hevo. It gets pulled to here. You whack it with Gravedigger. You hit it twice with Ray Charles, and then you hit it with a jar. And then it dies. I think. Spotlight is on the low health snowball. Yep. This is a pretty cool effect. I know chat's pointing out the fog of war here, but I think that's pretty cool. It would be cool to have that as a highlighting tool, I think. Instead, it looks like bad guy's interested in doing this. Alright, Jenna, have a good night. But anyway, brief, just squaring away some stream-related stuff, we'll say. This is also interesting. Huh. These are some interesting plays. I know I keep repeating the word, but it's still a little weird to me. After you're done with this review, take a look at the general channel. The general channel of the Random Slots Discord you're talking about, Sgrunkly, ! Discord, or links in the description. Likes and subscribes, by the way. Seriously, they help. Screaming about Russell? Is that what's going on in general? People screaming about Russell? So we've now flipped the table on our bad guy. 5-1 panic point advantage going the other way. While I was calling out a bunch of things that, excuse me, felt as though bad guy was, or our hero rather, was not quite responding to bad guy in what I would call a normal way. Where I was going with is like the appropriate way. It is working out. Because the answer here is alligator and pterodactyl from bad guy. Bad guy does seem to have a better phobie composition, but given the panic point advantage and the setup here, it's going to make life difficult for bad guy. Rock Swan made an edit of the song combined with Eat Your Vegetables? What? I gotta see this. Basically a full health Quagmire snot monster here. 5850 on the heart. We do know from the notes that there's a heart rush going on, so we'll have to see what happens here. Because our hero is not really positioned to do that. The panic points are going to get equalized, so you're not pushing damage that way. Most of your forces are on the other end of the board. Now this is weird. I don't know why the enemy spider was there. There were double yoinks. And this was inevitable, right? I just don't see how bad guy didn't see that coming with the spider. Ooh, we get a high five. I don't understand this at all. Like you're not locking in the flyer. I don't know why Renamon did that. But like, am I missing something, chat? Why did this happen? But all of a sudden, without the spider, the board position for bad guy does look significantly worse. Granted, it's consolidating, so the army is coming down here. We're going to have yoinks available soon. And sheep is the penultimate phobie for bad guy. 5 keys left for our hero. Is this just a dead Hevo? It must be, or they wouldn't have done this. Oh my god, no it's not. Wow. This is bold. Oh wait. Never mind, it is dead. For some reason I thought the spider didn't have any actions. I don't know why. But a dead Hevo matters because a lot of the damage output is dropping, especially since this pterodactyl is leaving. Yes, you trade the spider out, but A, it's an even key trade. B, they're wasting time doing that. And in the meantime, you got this Quagmire. Wow, this is pretty cool. This would be a cool thumbnail, too. Almost to the Dreadful pack? Getting there. Getting there. First Dreadful, too. Nice. So 3,800 health on this heart. Quick, do a kickflip. That's not a kickflip, but...
I feel like we've connected.
And tickles. At this point, I can see, because the heart rush coming, there's 1,000 health here, but it's going to heal. So it's going to require double hits from this and something else. Presumably the Stairmaster, because everything else is going to take some time. But there are multiple melee phobies, and this pterodactyl is off in the north doing whatever. I don't think there's enough damage here in order to actually stave off the high five. don't know that you needed... Well, I guess pulling back here is fine. Pulling back here is fine. So Gravedigger goes down, but it actually did a great job in the north because it was just occupying this pterodactyl. See, now this gets a little weird, but there is still an attractor on the board with a pull available, so something bad's going to happen. Yeah, it was over a 500 damage Gravedigger. Game. Level 10 Gravedigger. It's pretty big. Big boy. So we get the body block from the heart here. But guess what? Chuck does AoE. Just like that. That is in fact a dead Stairmaster. And since our hero has 5 keys left, they can easily continue to threaten these other panic points. Because yes, you're going to get a bunch of damage going down on high 5, but you can block high 5 from hitting the heart this turn, but not getting up there. And they're choosing not to, which is kind of bold. I kind of expected the alligator to come over here. Because now high 5 goes in. 3,800 health. The honey bear. This is actually pretty sweet. The honey bear is really cool here. Why not take this panic point with the Bachelor and vomit here and turn off these two? I guess it doesn't really matter, but you can't target there? Like, it won't actually because of the statue? I've never had that scenario. Is that actually how it works? Oh, look at that high 5 hit. Look at that high 5 hit. Go ahead, baby. Interesting. So the obstacle does block it. That's another one where... Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Another single-digit health Quagmire, by the way. That was 6 health. But, major panic point advantage for our hero. High 5 on the heart. And just like that, down goes bad guy. Well played, Renamon. That was pretty cool. Like I said, 2 games in a row where we see the second player winning on Phobos. So, as much as I complain about it, it obviously can be done. Alright, chat. We're back. We are back. So, somebody wanted me to check Discord real quick. What am I looking at? What the hell are people posting? Hey, did somebody must have deleted whatever it was, because I see Sgrunkly pinging me with something from Rock Swan, but then... Oh, there it is. I see. Alright, I'll look at that later. What if there was a life leech mode where every phobie gains X amount of life leech? That sounds miserable. That honestly sounds like it would be miserable, Forgo, if every phobie was undead. I don't know. Would it be something that they could do? You know, if they ever create this rotating game mode that people always ask for, they could. But it feels like... I don't know, I think that would just be kind of annoying, truthfully. I think that would just end up dragging games out in an annoying way. It would absolutely be a balance nightmare. Absolutely be a balance nightmare. Alright, so we're going to move on. These are non-subscriber games, so we're going to hit up a little bozo action. A little bozo action. This is my first game playing on Coulrophobia, and I made some position mistakes, and I freaked out about the stabby, but the ending had my heart racing. Well, that is what Phobies loves to do to you. So we'll see what our hero here, Bozo in the orange trunks, does on one of the new carnival maps. Now, we spent some time yesterday or the day before talking about Coulrophobia, maybe both. And this might be my new worst map in the game. In all seriousness, chat. I think this is the new worst map. Because this map seems miserable until somebody can identify what the answer is to just straight up running turrets across the top or the bottom. So, when we last left our hero, we were, in fact, Suckee Gaming. Make sure you hydrate. Always hydrating. No, I'm not. Today was, we'll say, different beverages during the day. It was football Sunday. Different beverages. But anyway, we get a little Unbearable, who, as mentioned earlier, has been a topic of conversation offline in the Random Thoughts Discord. So hit that up. Links in the description. Or come by the live stream where you're going to hear me ramble about all this stuff anyway. So one thing I want to point out, chat. This map is actually horrifying. Like, I don't know if anybody zoomed out on this map. Again, content affiliate, so the devs give me stuff, including a bunch of the art assets, some of which are the maps. So I knew because I have the zoomed out picture of this map. It's actually much bigger than you can zoom out on this, Onda, believe it or not. There's way more. But, like, look at this. This is messed up. This is messed up. Should be an O and an MP so people can do a choo-choo? What? It looks like a Speedolasaur? What, these things? I guess. I think it's just supposed to be random humanoid-looking things, but I get what you're saying. Oh, I see what you're saying, Sgrunkly. But getting back to this, I know we keep getting sidetracked with other things. We get the stabby that's marching across, but we're going to have Unbearable down here. They're going to be comparable. We get the jar supplement, and we get a little Suckee infighting here. Little Suckee infighting here. Now, this is the thing. There's now multiple things here to try and defend this Unbearable, but I don't know if this is enough. You can probably still get both of these, but it's going to weaken it enough that something can supplement it. Onda's got it. I guess those guys are hanging around. I gotta work on the other emotes, chat. I put it on my notes for this week. I'm gonna try and do it. We'll see. We'll see if we have time. But Bad Guy is also doing some weird stuff. I get the sense that they are new to this map as well. Like, the AWOL feels very random. I guess it's just an arbitrary one-drop, and it does a bunch of damage to the Suckee? I guess? I don't know. Seems a little weird. It's a little weird. The Quagmire here is fine if it happens sooner. Like, if you got the Quagmire to stand here. But the problem is that this Quagmire is just going to get the snot beat out of it. Pun intended. Most of our games you played Suckee. Because I've been, so in all seriousness, Akune, I've been seriously trying to force it in a bunch of games. DT has also been doing it. I think we both kind of independently, DT has been actively pushing Suckee. I think we both have been trying to formulate stuff for it. I just haven't really been as vocal about it, but I have been trying to force it in other games. Because the idea of having all of this, like, lots of HP this early in the game feels like it's something to do. It's getting weird how many people just mirror Suckee when they see it. I haven't had that yet. I think it happened, like, once, but it is weird that people do that, because Suckee doesn't seem like a good answer to Suckee. I guess it kind of is, because you can tank the opposing hits until you're ready to collapse on it, and then push damage on that turn. You know, like, just wipe it out in one turn. Maybe it's fine. Same level Alistar fighting each other would be an infinite fight that would never end. If it was just them, I guess, yeah. Ginsting emote. Well, I gotta do like bees or something like that. I'm not promising they're gonna happen this week. I just gotta work on them. And the new random slots logo. I gotta find an artist that I like to do both, basically, is what it's gonna boil down to. Whoa, now this is gonna be sweet. This would be a sweet thumbnail. I didn't realize how big Suckee gets. Like, look at this. I was pausing it not for that, but I was looking for this to see how much health it had. 1,600 health with this. So it's not quite gonna get it. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. So it can't reach it. This could escape. 1, 2, 3, 4. You'd probably have to go here, which means it's likely dead. So this is not getting out of here. Suckee is both the immovable object and the unstoppable force. Tell that to bad guys, Suckee. Got some bad news for you, bad guy. But yeah, Akune, I wasn't trying to meme. I'm honestly trying to explore what we can do with Suckee. Honestly, I swear to God, I just do this by accident. I pause a lot, so law of averages, right? You know what's funny is this thing is gonna die probably to the... It won't let me click on it. This is what, like 3 health? This is the 3rd game in a row where we see these quagmires that are surviving with like 1 health. Oh, it doesn't die to that. Would you sacrifice the jar for this, chat? So you start the turn like this. You could roll, say, the unbearable here. Let the jar advance, and then kill the stabby. That means that your quagmire lives. Because there's no way for them to reach it, and then you could try and retreat somewhere. It might die during the retreat, so that'd be a concern, because you'd either end up on the lava or have to go where this is. But would you sacrifice jar to kill stabby here? I think this is probably correct to not do it, but... It was just a thought. Really shows you how much the Phobies team care. They even made Suckee look cool. They make everything look cool. So the unbearable actually goes to kill this, which I guess is better than jar. Because, like I said, the jar would end up dying. One way or another, like, I think the jar would just die to the lava, actually. Trading out panic points here. Screen looks bounced when jar can't attack? Wait, what? Oh, you mean, like, the screen vibrates? Yeah, it's supposed to be like, oh, this is a big, like, a mortar, like we were talking about earlier. Big artillery hit. But the jar's gonna go down. The Hevo answer here is a little weird, I think. I don't know. The thing is that this is a fairly healthy unbearable. It's healthy enough. This will take a couple turns to get back into action. Hero's getting beat up here. But they still have a panic point advantage. You can argue they have a board advantage. Maybe, maybe not. See, now they're in a little bit of trouble because this unbearable is vulnerable. I don't think there's any way you can retreat with it. Yeah, there is a slight vibration effect when you hit things. I think it's when the attack connects most of the time rather than when it's launched. But yeah, it is supposed to reinforce the idea that it's like, oh, they hit him so hard. Like, if you look at... Watch when Klepto hits. The screen does vibrate a little bit. So Hevo goes down in a not really favorable exchange. The only thing you could have really done was run the Hevo onto the lava, I guess, to try and preserve it. But both players are out of keys, and there is a self-healing phobie here, so... Well, 2, technically. But our hero does have an advantage, and not just in the sense of having a panic point advantage, eventually they'll be able to advance, and they have time because still 5,400 health on this heart. 2-to-1 panic point advantage is not really that fast of a clock, so you'll absolutely be able to counter pressure at some point. Yeah, we were reading the notes, Bozo. The stabby on the stim is really scary, and we were talking about it last night or the day before, but I don't like this map for pretty much exactly that reason. But I think you're at an advantage here at this stage. Like, it's your game to lose, basically. The Quagmire here might have been aggressive, but I think you just kill this and walk away safely. I guess you can't walk away, but you get the idea. So Jar kills this. This can't kill that. Yeah, this game is over. They have to choose what they're going after. It looks like they're going to do this. Okay, no, they're going to kill the... and walk away. Alright. This could get a little dicey. But I'm absolutely with you, Bozo. That's what the main thrust of the discussion is. How do you answer turrets on the stim here? Because I played a game last night that's similar to this, where I went first, and I literally just ran Stabby across the top, and then I ran Bomangles across the top, and said, stop me. And they couldn't. Is Sucky healing rounded up or down when it's an odd number? That's come up before Forgo, and I don't know. I honestly don't know. One, you stop them. Two, you get to your stim first. Even, you can get to your stim first, and that can discourage them. But it depends. For example, we're looking, Bozo saying they made a mistake at the end. Oh, wow. I didn't realize this was 40 turns. But, so, if they get a Stabby and they're running it across the top, or Bomangles, you know, whatever. They're running a turret across the top. And they run it towards the stim. 2,400 to 29. Like, yeah, bad guy probably didn't account for this. Did you do the math at this point, Bozo? Bad guy actually lost some damage here by doing this, so we'll have to see how close it is on the final turns. And then I'll finish. We'll wait for the game to finish, and then I'll complete my thoughts on Chorophobia. So bad guy has now effectively lost 2 attacks. So, this is complicated, and we could go back and do the arithmetic. I'm just not going to, because I don't want to. Mostly. But bad guy stems some of the bleeding here. But they missed an attack by moving onto the stem. And they missed an attack by moving off the stem. Now, moving off the stem to reclaim this, they probably needed to do. Because otherwise they would have died. But I wonder if when they moved over to the stem, if they had just attacked twice, would they have been better off? Because they always have the option to go reclaim this with double moves, and they would have been in the same position they are now. But they would have threatened more if they stayed attacking it. Because, again, if you're doing more than 355 damage, you're losing damage by taking the stem. So you have to have a really good reason, like... You're moving into range, so therefore you move in, you would have only got 1 attack anyway, do it. Or you just need to plop something on the stem so your opponent doesn't take it, that sort of thing. But yeah, this is a really tight game, and well played, Bozo. So you couldn't decide whether to go for Klepto or go for the heart. I think given, like, this scenario, you should have tried to go for their heart. It's easy to say in hindsight, but... their Klepto is much more mobile. You are not going to kill it, I don't think. You know, they could just get away. You would have had to advance on into the stim range on lava, so in more reasons you were not going to kill it. So you might as well go for their heart, especially since you had a panic point advantage. There was the potential that they cap, say, the middle, and then you no longer have a panic point advantage, but if you're going for their heart, capping points along the way and then going to stand on the stim, maybe you're fine. Then again, maybe they just stand there and never do anything and just keep attacking your heart and kill you. Again, we'd have to go back and do the arithmetic. You threatening them enough made them think about it, so maybe it was fine that you were dancing around a little bit instead of committing. But as far as Coulrophobia goes, this was basically a quick recap of last night. Too long, didn't watch. I don't like it because I think, similar to Moai, it is exceptionally difficult to defend. Maybe there is a defense to go to the stim in the north and you'll be fine. But for example, if you run Snowball up there, if you run Murderwing up there and just park it on that stim, they can just still send Stabby and probably kill your dude. I think you actually have to be on the stim itself and not defending it. Well, definitely not defending it. Because I had somebody last night who put Microscopic here. And I'm like, alright, I'm just going to walk up Stabby and kill it. And then I did 1 billion damage to their heart. If you put Murderwing on the stim itself, notably Murderwing and not Snowball, because Murderwing can continue to attack at range, the Stabby walks into range, Murderwing does a ton of damage to it. If the Stabby is in range to attack twice, great. It kills the Snowball and now it's at like 100 health. Which still might be okay. Like, your opponent as the Stabby player might not be unhappy about that. If you wait for them, like, they've already taken the stim. They're already up here. It is difficult to dislodge. Because, obviously, tanky turret. Yes, you can sneak a Murderwing here, Snowball up here, maybe leap a Cassowary in or something. But it's not unreasonable to assume that you're not going to have enough damage to kill it with singular attacks, because nothing will be in range to attack twice, unless you have, like, 4 Phobies. So it'll be Meatball, it'll be a Leap, it'll be a Fireball. No. Technically, the second player has the quickest Stabby / bow. In what way? Because you get first act as the, obviously, the first player. I don't quite follow what you mean, Akune. Unless you're, like, if the response is send, so you go Stabby 1, Stabby 2, Murderwing, Stabby 1, Stabby 2. Well, no, you go Stabby 1, Stabby 2, Stabby, Stabby. Then it's Stabby, Stabby, Murderwing, walk up, shoot, respond, maybe walk away. And in the meantime, you're walking across, if that's what you're saying. If you start with Stabby as the first player, you can block and use a key to block. Start with Stabby as a first player. I'm very confused now. I'm trying to parse what you mean, but I'm not following you. Oh, you can rush your Stabby and use your key to... Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, so player 1 runs Stabby across. They don't have any support. Player 2 runs Stabby across, but sends their 1 key just to stand here and body block them. That makes more sense. So the question is if you go 1, 2, 1, 2, you go... Well, so Stabby is here, right? Player 1 sends Stabby out. Player 2 sends Stabby out... or sends a 1 key out, 1, 2, 3, 4 to here. Then they send Stabby out. Then 1, 2, cap the point. 1, 2. So what you could do, if you say Stabby, Stabby again, you'll summon it. It's like Beetlejuice. So What I was trying to figure out is, say you open with a turret as player 1. It's actually way faster and dangerous rushing Jin Sting. Oh, if you're player 2, just go... They go stabby, you go Jin Sting. I think that's a reasonable response. That doesn't change my feeling on the map, though. So, to clarify, when I'm saying a response to the stabby opener and just, you know, running a turret across, I'm not saying, well, let's do that, but worse. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that's what, you know, you're contradicting me or anything. But what is the... This map, to me, boils down to both players ignoring each other. Top going this way. I hope I'm pointing the right way, because my camera, you know. Top going this way, bottom going this way, and they never talk to each other. They just rush to the stim, and then they kind of interact in the center once or twice, and that's it. Saying stabby, but in the underground theme for Mario. I feel like we did that before for a different phobie. But stabby would work too. Stabby, stabby, stabby. Stabby, stabby, stabby. But we'll close up on Coulrophobia, do some more reviews, but basically I don't like the idea that you ignore each other. I'm not clear yet on what is the appropriate response to force a different reaction, so that the meta is not ignore each other for most of the game and try and either ignore harder or... I guess that's it. Like, you ignore harder and go harder onto the heart. There has to be a point where you can break the advance and then actually play defense and then swing the game that way, or there should be. Maybe there isn't. Maybe that's just the way this map works out, which would be unfortunate, because it feels like Moai to another degree. I don't like the way Moai's gameplay pattern has worked out for the most part. All right, so we're going to do the other Silver, are you still in chat? Because I think you said you wanted to do the second game. Gargles block? You could. You could. It feels stupid because I bet the map with the smallest amount of usable tiles. Even Eternal Monday should have more available tiles than this. It might. I didn't count that, but that's interesting. Use a Gravedigger to block the stim. So, if you... Oh, you are here, Silver. Did you want me to do the second game, you said? Okay, good. So, just to look at this again real quick. If you send the Gravedigger up, say you do it on 1, 2, 3, 4. So you probably put it here, right? You could send it here, but you probably put it here. And then you block here. So your Gravedigger's taking damage and you've not interacted with the board in any meaningful capacity. And your opponent, if they opened with a turret, is probably here. So they just go, okay, I'll either take the point or cover the middle. Honestly, Moai feels less difficult to defend than Coulrophobia. I kind of agree with you, DT. Not kind of, I think... I'm going to be more emphatic. I agree with you. I rushed the heart, but lost because opponent had a tractor. Don't make me be happy about a tractor existing, Bozo. I refuse to be happy about a tractor's existence. I refuse. I don't know. The map is still very young. I'm trying to keep an open mind about it. Right now, my opinion is very negative of it, but realistically, how many games have I played on it? Like, probably not even 10. Probably not even 10. Alright, so our hero here is SilverK, zoning into the floor is lava, so this game must be going back a while. Didn't Floor's Lava rotate out 2 weeks ago? Maybe it was only last week. Whatever. Hero is in the orange trunks. SilverK, fairly standard opener here. This has moved to become my opener. I used to go 1-1-1, but I'm really liking the 1-1 into Honey Bear, so we'll see if Bad Guy does that. Why would we want to do that, Sgrunkly? Nope, they choose not to go Honey Bear, or maybe they can't go Honey Bear, they instead go Gin Sting. So even panic points here, getting the turret action, 1 key still for our hero. Bank into 4, alright. The floor is panic points, true story. So, bad guy elects to not sacrifice any of their 1 keys, which I feel is a little weird. Both players are just passing. 1/3 of the way through the game, and we're just banking keys. So we get a Gravedigger to break the stalemate and break this obstacle. I know a lot of people have talked about breaking this obstacle for this map, which is reasonable, but I don't know. I haven't, especially in light of the honey bear play, I feel as though it matters a lot less for me. But in the meantime, we do get another... Speaking of the attractor, well, the attractor family, it's Innocuous. Clearly, we were going to end up losing the cowbell here. But it did body block and ensure that the Innocuous is able to get these shots off and forces the retreat here. Bad guys staging, but they're also notably maxed out on phobies, so I anticipate there's something bad going to happen to them momentarily. Really? Are 2 phobies coming down? One, like a jar to kill this and then a body block? Oh, really? So SilverK is going to possibly... Does this die? No, this still has 800 health. Oh, it's a level 12 Innocuous. No wonder. So it's not going to die from this. Because I was concerned that between the lava and the Jin Sting, it would take this down. But clearly not. So the Maggie goes down. I feel like that was a loss that didn't have to happen. Yes, this could have just walked up. But that's what happened anyway. It feels like the Maggie died for no purpose. And I don't think there was enough damage to take down the stabby, like, if it was exposed. Because you could swing this down, cat in, this hits. I don't think that's enough damage. But regardless, we're beating up on the Gravedigger here, avenging Maggie's death. So this is real interesting. This is kind of just accepting that the Innocuous is going to die, clearly. And it doesn't quite get the takedown on the Jin Sting, which is unfortunate. This is bad, because isn't Bees up? No, Bees is down, okay. But the jar dies anyway, because it caught collateral damage from the Bees before. This is kind of a rough spot for our hero. 4 keys to 2. Panic point advantage, bad guy. Wait, this stabby is doing... What level is this? Oh my god, this is a level 13 stabby. I mean, bad guy is... These are decently leveled phobies. I didn't check all of them. Like, this is 10, this is 9. I don't know why the hell they went with a level 4 unicorn, but... Sure. Level 12. Silver clobbering people here. Just dropping the hammer. I realized I didn't read the notes for this. The setup that won a close game. Oh, baby! Chat. Silver, is this why you wanted this game? Is this why you said skip the other game? Showing off a little bit. We get a bad omen, chat. This is our first bad omen that I've seen. This is the first bad omen that I've seen. Yep, alright. We gotta give him his due, chat. Get a little bad omen action here. Little bad omen action. So a giant robot monkey animatronic that looks like Gonzo Bonzo? That's awesome. Did you buy it? This Jin Sting tanks all of it. Oh, it costs $300? I wouldn't have done it. So panic points are even. Get the power down. So this is 0. 172. 2. So this 224 is 4. This probably lives. I've gone against 2 Bad Omens, and I gotta say it's a really good 2-key. Bad Omen seems really good. The big brain plays. Sock Asin to round out the forces. Silver, this is a beating. This is a beating. Got a little retreat action from bad guy. They don't really have much of a choice. Bad guy doesn't really have much of a choice. The forces of our good guy are going to collapse here momentarily. You've yet to see a Bad Omen. I haven't seen one against me yet. I'm not looking forward to it. I think Bad Omen's really good. Bad Omen, in fact, lands the killing blow on the erratic. And just like that, 5-1 panic point advantage. The floor is panic points, chat. The forces of evil have been vanquished? Correct. I love the attack animation when they do 0 damage. It's just really funny to me. Get a little bees. Trap the Jin Sting. I mean, at this stage, it doesn't matter. Bad guy can't come out at any point, because they're just going to walk into the firing squad here. Well played. Well played. Gotta box him in. Feel how all the obstacles quake. Got him. GG. Little Bad Omen action. Little Bad Omen action. Also, I think we forgot to appreciate how in the tutorial the game calls the obstacles mental blocks. Does it really? I legitimately don't remember that. Buff for Grimes, it gets a damage buff for killing the heart. No, we were joking last night if Grimes gained HP from kills. I've seen that effect in card games. You Hearthstone players out there may remember Undertaker, I think it was. It was the one priest card. And yeah, those sort of effects are really dangerous when they stack. Laugh now. It's funny, see? Ah! Oh man, I'm tired, chat. I'm just trying to make it to the end of the year. Just want to make it to the end of the year. It's been 2022 is not a great year. Trick or Treat was going to originally be a comic series. Interesting. Interesting. So, yeah, for Halloween, a couple of years ago, I had one of those giant inflatable T-Rex costumes. But there's a new one now that we got. And I have to make sure it actually works, considering Halloween is, you know, like a week away. There's one where it's you, but you're riding a giant inflatable T-Rex. Or other dinosaurs. So I think that's what I have. We'll see. We'll see. I do have a plethora of masks I could wear on Halloween. Like, actually on Halloween when I'm streaming. That weekend's gonna be weird. Like, I don't know what the streaming schedule is gonna be. Halloween night is probably... I don't know. We'll have to play it by ear. I gotta see what's going on. Gotta see what's going on. Well, Taco, I think we did one of yours. We did yours on Friday. I mean, we may be able to do more anyway, but... Speaking of game reviews... So we're back on carnival maps, but this time it's not Kurophobia. It's step right up. Our hero here is Gakuen in the orange trunks, and the notes are, I bring out low keys to counter my opponent's fire dog. Well, you see a lot of the good boy, the fire dog. And the answer is Maggie. We've been seeing a lot of Maggies. Well, maybe not a lot, but more Maggies than... Maggie has kind of fallen off. And honestly, of all the phobies in the game, I feel like Maggie is the one that I expect a palette swap of next. Somebody had mentioned that in chat recently, that they had suggested an idea for a different bug that would be Maggie. I think that was the hypothetical one-key flyer that has, like, no attack or something. So this is bold here, just because you could pick these off. Like, you could kill this Maggie and jar, but then the boom gets it. If you come over here, like, the safest thing is you kill the cat. Like, you spit on this, pop out a jar, kill it, and just start chipping away at the forces. Follow up is Murder Wing. We'll see what the 4 keys from Bad Guy yield. Alright, they're going Finnegan. So you don't even need the jar. And instead, Innocuous. Honestly, I've been spawning Innocuous a lot on this map, and I don't know that I like it. Because without a Gravedigger, the positioning here, if you get a bunch of 1 keys, gets super awkward. One key flock of butterflies that fly around with 2 movement range and have like 250 HP and no damage. I can see it. I mean, that would be kind of what it has to be, right? DT Nightmare Gaming, true. It's funny, DT comes up with all kinds of ideas about the game. Obviously is frequently offering their opinion, but the one that is stuck is the Misanthrope. And I don't know why everybody's so hell-bent on that one. But Bad Guy here mispositions their snowball and pays for it. A little mispositioning here. 3-to-1 panic point advantage, and I'll be honest, I'm not sure how Bad Guy gets out of here. They could Klepto and hit these 2. Misanthrope is scary. I think Misanthrope is good. Alright, so instead of Klepto, they're kind of... It's a build a Klepto, sort of. Not really. But Unbearable, which I'm not a huge fan of in this scenario, and Maggie. So Bad Guy is not in terrible shape. They're not in great shape, because even though this took a beating, it still has to be dealt with. It still has to be dealt with. Ah, their own fire dog comes out to play. I've really been liking Boom as long as the enemy does not have Gin Sting or other splashers. The thing is, obviously not if you just started playing, but everybody has Gin Sting. So it is difficult to make it happen. Now, if you have Boom leveled up, possibly, and that's similar to like AWOL, you just need to hit the break point to not die to those sort of things. My Boom could survive Gin Sting AoE? Well, that's exactly it. It just depends. So 6 keys remaining for both players, not entirely available to them, but 4-to-0 panic point advantage, and there's a reason that there hasn't been too much to call out. This just kind of has been a beating by the hero here. The multi-phobie approach did work, but I think it required Bad Guy to position incorrectly. Additionally, the Unbearable Maggie response was not spectacular. Like, the Maggie didn't seem to do anything. It represented a little more damage on the Misanthrope, but without knowing Bad Guy's collection, it's tough to tell what would have been appropriate. At equal levels, Boom always survives Gin Sting Splash. So it has what, like 200 health at level 1? The Boom? Yeah, that sounds right, because I think Gin Sting only has like 375 or something like that on bees, so that would be accurate. I feel as though Boom is in a similar position to Electric Cat, where a lot of people don't want to use it or feel it's useless, so they don't level it up, and therefore it will always be useless until you level it up. But as far as this game goes, we actually get a sheep that is doing this in the wrong order, but it doesn't matter because this is presumably a dead unbearable here. I'm not real sure why the Murder Wing repositioned. I guess to threaten the heart, but it's going to die due to these two. But we do actually get some Morty gaming for all you Morty fans out there. Get a little Morty action. Our hero was just in control of the panic points for so many panic points and for so long that this is just ball game. There's nothing they can do. Nothing they can do at this stage. But well played. Yeah, the counter does make sense. It is unique in... I don't know. I just want to see this one turn again. So right here, it feels like... I think they kill the cat, right? Yeah, they kill the cat, so this is fine. This was a 3-to-1 panic point advantage. And they elected to keep this alive instead of Snowball, which feels like a big mistake. This has more health. So they'd have to commit these 3 in order to kill the Snowball, or the Finnegan, if it was here. Whereas this ends up dying to just these 2. And obviously it's negligible damage on the misanthrope. So you end up in this position without a Klepto. Like a Klepto here would probably like break the game open. I guess where I'm going with it is it feels like Bad Guy had some really bizarre responses, which allowed our hero to leverage it and gain the advantage. So again, not trying to take anything away from our hero or beat up on the bad guy, but it feels like that was a combination of bad guy errors as opposed to solely super cool play or something. You know what I mean? I hope that doesn't come across as negative for anybody, but I don't intend it that way. Alright, get a little Sgrunkly action going on for the next one. A little Sgrunkly action. Morty delivered their grave? Absolutely right. That's what Morty does. Your coffin has arrived on time. So our hero here on Xylo is Sgrunkly in the orange trunks. Has everybody who submitted a game gone second tonight, chat? It feels like it. Maybe there was one that wasn't. But this seems like it's a low enough level game because we don't in fact see a Snowball. We see a Murder Wing into a bank, which is a little weird. But the notes here are saying Jeeves. That's all the information you need. So we're going to see a little more trap action, chat. There might be some clip button worthy plays, we'll see. This is an interesting opener from our hero. I don't know if Sgrunkly has Snowball, but again, assuming low level, so probably not. So this makes sense. I don't really understand the Contortio, because there's not enough follow-up to threaten anything, and obviously you can't get it around to the center. So losing the Contortio for free may seem irrelevant. You know, it's, oh, I lost a 1 key, who cares? But you're not doing anything here. Like, this is going to retreat and be safe, and then this is going to die, and you just gave up a key for no reason? I don't know, it just seems a little silly. But Bad Guy, speaking of silly things, went with microscopic, and I don't know what they're doing with this microscopic, like, at all. Literally no idea what's happening here. That's the algorithm, Onda. You're gonna have to tell us. Your Suckee is level 6 right now. Why is that important, you ask? It's been performing amazingly in an environment where most people have, like, level 8 and level 9s. Interesting. So this is notable. to a degree. But again, you remove it, they'll pop a 1 key out. They bank to 10. I like the Bachelor Invade more than I care about the Contortio play, but... Unbearable is the follow-up. Why didn't Bad Guy pop out a 1 key or something just to recap this? I mean, yes, it dies, but that's better than the Contortio did. You just got Creep and just decided to start using them. I've been on the upswing with Creep lately. Creep has been putting in more work for me. I mean, speaking of Creep, we get this hitting the Unbearable down here. I don't think I pointed out before. I have Snowball, I just didn't know where I'd use it in the start. Send it to the middle. They couldn't have threatened it based on what their opener was. So, like, they opened Murder Wing pass, you could have sent Snowball to the middle, cap the middle immediately. So we do get the Spider coming out. Cyclops filling it out. Cyclops have been very popular as of late. And a Gravedigger. This is weird. I do not like this. Are you going to go in with this? Okay. Okay, that's fair. I don't know why you sent the Murder Wing here, though. The Murder Wing, I mean, they didn't go for it, which is a little weird, because they could have, like, meatballed here, put a ranged guy out, and hit it. They have a million keys. Bad Guy has some weird lines in this. Like, why are they sitting on so many keys every turn? They've had multiple turns where they've only spawned one phobie when they could have done multiple, or chose to spawn nothing. I don't know where I was going with that Murder Wing. I mean, we all do stuff. I do stuff like that all the time, Sgrunkly. Everybody's seen me make really weird plays. But I mean, this Erratic is in trouble because it's just not going to do anything. Panic point advantage still for our hero. Bad Guy about to do 2 Speedolas or something like that. I mean, maybe. So here's the thing. We've seen this sort of advance. What is happening with this Murder Wing? Is this like mid-dab? Is that what's happening with this thing right now? Murder Wing's desperately trying to dab? But we've seen multiple invasions like this where hero goes in, well, usually it's Bad Guy goes in and then hero just obliterates them. So Panic Point advantage Bad Guy. Obviously the Cassowary dies. The Jar is healthy, so it can stand here. It doesn't have to worry about the creep killing it. Obviously you could get the creep. Yeah, you could just kill the creep, kill the Cassowary with the Murder Wing, and be fine. The Pterodactyl and Unbearable are almost out of the game because they're so far over here. There's like nothing going on down here. That being said, since the Panic Point advantage is Bad Guy, alright, here we go. So Jeeves only moved 1 space. We cannot see the trap, but there has to be one down here. There has to be one down here. The enemy's maybe not used to the map. It's possible. What has this is this microscopic done anything all game other than move back and forth? Oh my god, it's a Russell chat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 phobies. You know, truthfully, chat, this isn't a terrible position for Bad Guy, despite their earlier plays, earlier errors. This is a great poll, by the way, because Bad Guy did not see this coming, obviously. This hurts. Like, that is brutal. Backbreaking. Talking about microscopic doing nothing. You know what it's doing the Pterodactyl didn't? Live. It lived. For now, anyway. So we do get the Russell, but we have the preemptive Clinico as appropriate.
Sure to be beat.
So that's a 1-move Russell, which means potential traps. And it should be off cooldown by now, I think. It might not be. Oh, excuse me, but at this point, I have no idea how bad guy wins. The erratic will never interact with anything because of the spider. The Russell does nothing. The microscopic can't interact with anything, because if it ever walks in range, it's dead. So unbearable is basically the only thing that could actually interact, and even then, it's probably not worth it. I don't know what that Jeeves was doing. So Murder Wing goes down, which means this panic point gets, or it's not going to get recapped. Again, I have no idea how bad guy wins this. We have 11 more turns of probably everybody just walking back and forth. What is Jeeves doing? Intimidating the opposition. So Jeeves, at this point, has 2 turns left. It still has almost 2k health. I mean, look at this. Look how aggressive you can be. And it just doesn't matter. I don't even... Like, this play is not really that good. Because this is going to leech a bunch of life. You're going to lose the Gravedigger. You lose the Spider. The Erratic might even be able to just walk away. But it kind of doesn't matter.
Glorious is glorious.
The Bat was going to die. Might as well get some damage in. The Bat, I think, is fine. I know Russell can also lay traps. Did I say Russell when I was talking about Jeeves? I'll take your word on it, chat. So they let the Spider live. I get wanting to kill the Jar, but... I don't know. Did that hit the Clinico first? It looked like it hit the Clinico first. There's the Russell play. See? Now I'm doing it consciously, chat. But Russell gets frozen. Russell gets frozen. Obviously, it's dead. Is it weird that I think Jeeves' attack shouldn't go through pits? I understand what you're saying, Silver, and I kind of agree with you. Yeah, Russell's toast. The Erratic got yoinked. I mean, the Spider's now dead, probably. Maybe. No, oh my god, the Spider still lives. And another oh, baby, look at that. Look at that. Frozen Russell, frozen microscopic. Ice Age Gaming is right. Was there a walrus character in the Ice Age movies? Because otherwise, we got to get Jeeves added to the cast. Although I don't think there's going to be any more Ice Age movies. Didn't they? I remember there being a short, maybe last year or something, where the team who made Ice Age basically is like, yeah, this is the end kind of thing.
Absolute treat.
You mean Steve's? Yes. Erratic attack animation always shows splash damage first on the target last. It's been a while, DT. As much as I played Erratic, it's been a while. I figured that was the case based on what we witnessed, but... Down goes Unbearable, and down goes Bad Guy. Well played, Grunkly. The traps got you. Got you the W. Although, I think you were in such an advantageous position over the course of that game that it probably was... I don't want to say it was in the bag. And we've definitely seen, even on recent game reviews, way bigger beatings. But That felt like you were absolutely in the driver's seat the entire time, and there was just really no hope for bad guy. Pretty much throughout the game. Pretty much throughout the game. They just made a bunch of weird decisions on their turns of what phobies to summon and when they chose not to summon it. Fratute, did you... Oh, here it is. Looking right past it. Blue Sky Company making their last animation for Ice Age where the squirrel finally can eat the acorn. Yeah, that's what I was thinking of. That, I remember that animation happening. Couldn't remember the name of the company that did it, but, yeah, I think that was supposed to be like, we're not doing any more of these. I wasn't caring like the whole game. What you weren't seeing is the bad guy reset his plays as he fumbles around trying to answer me. Yeah. I don't know. I wonder if they ran out of time on some of those turns, because it just feels like I don't know why they did some of the things they did. And they're, based on what you're saying, they must have just been flailing, trying to figure out, like, how do I answer this? All right, so this one, our hero is Fratute in the orange trunks. Again, back on Phobos. Turn 14 was absolutely insane, so we're going to have to see what turn 14 yields. But we've had now 3 games tonight, chat, where our hero was going second on Phobos and they won. So, this is why it's important to think about this in the sense that whenever we're forming opinions about the game, we do only really have our own information to go off of. The devs have way more information. So as much as we may hate Phobos or Pluto or Phorophobia or whatever, maybe it just turns out that it's selective memory kind of thing. So bad guy, I don't know what level Fratute and bad guy are at, but again, no snowballs. So I'm assuming lower level game, lower stress level game. Which this opener allows our hero to advance onto the center panic points, and there's really not much that bad guy can do about this. You can pump a bunch of damage if you sink all of these into, say, the Jin Sting. You'll probably still lose everything on the... Well, not the Innocuous, but... You'll get beat up on the return. That opener for player 2 is what I'm using now as well. It's interesting. I'm still using the Gravedigger Snowball. Just because I haven't played on Phobos a lot. I'll have to try out the response. How does it perform if player 1 opens with Snowball? Like, it's still okay? I'm assuming it is, but... So in the meantime, we're just kind of getting equilibrium on the panic points, advancing, trying to maintain, but Hematic Jin Sting comes out, which is a big deal. I don't understand the V movement there, but we do get a body block from the Bachelor. This is relevant because bad guy can't just get on the stem in order to boost their damage immediately. So this means that the Jin Sting is more likely to live. But why did they... 1,500. They went here, here, and here. Could they not have killed Miss Moffat? Move this here. Move this here. This was here. Kill the Moffat. And then put this on the stem just to force the damage into the cat? Maybe they would have gotten punished, but you also have the droney that could come in and body block. I don't know, that feels like there was something on that turn that could have happened. Because here you're just... Our hero's able to pick things off, and trivially. This is kind of the snowball effect on Phobos, just now it's going for the second player. Because bad guy with 12 keys banked is going to have to stage something to get in here and then break the stranglehold that our hero has on it, but hero has 10 keys banked. And the answer is high five, which I get, kind of. Because if the high five just walks up onto the stem, hypothetically it wipes everything out, but clearly our hero's not just going to stand there and let that happen. Look at this, the 1 keys go through and obliterate everything. Get a little powered up bees action. Into more bees. Into a dead Inoculus. Now the jar will die, or could die, but again, this is the problem I find with Phobos. Snowball effect, no snowball required.
Is the mark of a master.
This is how it feels like a lot of Phobos games go. Just player 1's usually in this position because they have the stim first. So there's the big high five hit. Ginseng does go down, so hero is taking some sustained losses, or sustaining some losses, I guess is the better way to say it. The stim is open, and that's a mother load. Boom! Yoink. Yeah. Can even reposition. That was a brutal turn. That was an absolutely brutal turn. So I do want to go back in and look at the opener here. That is savage! But yeah, this is the exchange that always frustrates me on Phobos. Because it feels as though, and again, normally it's first player doing this to second player. Because first player is already on the stem, and then second player has to build up this army and try and push. But getting... I don't know. I don't like the play pattern on this map, is what it boils down to. I know we've talked about it a lot, so I don't want to belabor the point. But yeah, mother load on a stem seems good. Seems good. You have losses to a bank to a 1 level higher smother mother. Mine is level 11, theirs is 12 on this map, and for 1 turn they were player 1 because of the threat of smother mother caused to me. Oh, I see what you're saying, Forgo. They straight up banked to smother mother that was 1 level higher than yours, and you ended up losing to it. That's brutal. Ouch, my phobies is right. You know, despite all of this, hypothetically, if bad guy had said, to hell with the middle, I'm rushing heart, they might have been able to take this game. 3,600 health on this heart. It's not impossible to envision bad guy just pushing as hard as they can and jumping on the stem. Or jumping on the heart. The stomping footsteps is funny to me. Puppy's back. Resuming her position, snoozing on the couch. A little more bees action. We didn't even get the more bees, but Contortio's not pulling this off against the entire team. GG. Well played, Fratute. So I do want to go back and look at the opener for this, because I want to get a second look at it. Bad guy elected to not go with Snowball early on, and I'm not clear on why. Again, they might just not have it, but... I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't really feel the Snowball Gravedigger opener going second is fantastic. It's just kind of been the... You know, this is what I do on this map. So if you do this, and they had a snowball here and a cat, Normally, going first, I would send Snowball and Cat down here to cap these. But if you do this, you can back cap these. They could kill one of them. So it could be like Cat plus Fireball. Then you obviously kill them back. Their follow-up is, say, Gin Sting. Yeah, I kind of like this better. The other opener with Snowball and Gravedigger has always felt very passive. Now, alternatively, instead of sending Snowball down here, so Cat would be here, right? Could be here. But either way, it can't reach this. So you could send Snowball here, and then Fireball, for say 800. But it will die. And your Gin Sting will be, say, 1, 2, 3, 4. Say it's here. This is 4, 7, arbitrary 1-drop, so 10. So hypothetically, you can kill the Snowball and not get the Gin Sting pulled. So that means that your Gin Sting is not going to be vulnerable to theirs because you could just walk back one space. Notably, they also would not be able to take the stim immediately because one of these would be melee. They'd hit the Snowball, get pulled onto the stim. Yeah, I kind of like this. I like this response. I'll have to try that out the next time I'm on that map if I remember. And this is why whenever I say I really dislike or hate maps, it's important to look at these sort of things because people are going to come up with ideas and try other things, and maybe Phobos turns around for me because there's a more reasonable response and it's not, it doesn't feel so lopsided. Follow up with Cassowary and Murderwing to guard the stim. So you have this line here of 1-drop, Gin Sting, 1-drop. You kill, presumably, Snowball and 1-drop, or at least the Snowball. Alternatively, they could run away and you start capping points. Then you follow up with Cassowary and Murderwing, so you've not banked, but neither have they. Yet, anyway. What is a decent turn 2 response as first player, then? I think you still go with Gin Sting. The question of whether you bank. It definitely makes your life more complicated. Maybe if Snowball's here, you go... Like, you send Snowball up here, and Cat down here, because then they can still threaten both of these points. Like, they can come back in, but they're out of range of the stim if player 2's Gin Sting goes in. Rather than what I normally do, which is send Snowball down here because it can recover fast. This is interesting. Like I said, I like that opener. I'm going to have to look at it more. 4 games left to review. We're not going to get all 4 done tonight. At least I don't think so, unless these are all very, very short. We have a Rodizio game. And the notes here, Mysomania. This is also out of rotation at this point. Mysomania, Rodizio, our hero in the orange trunks. Again, continuing the player 2 victories here in the game reviews. Electrocat can be used. So let's see to what use has Rodizio put Electrocat. That's a very weird way of saying what I think you all understand what I'm saying. So what's the opener here? Do we have something unique? No, we're going with the fairly standard. Somebody pointed out on this map, probably in another review a while back, that you don't really have to break this on 1, because you're not sending something immediately to the center on 1. So similar to Crypto, it might be better to just advance something else and then follow up with the Gravedigger, but I'm not sure. Just now realizing I have a game where I have a Suckee MVP on a crushing win. Nice. Alright, this is a lot of damage going down on this Quagmire, but still 1200 health, and of course it's going to heal this off. So, a good effort by our hero, but not enough. So what's the follow-up from Bad Guy here? Mysomania, I've talked about this on many occasions, is a map that I like, but I am not very good at. So I'm always looking for ideas on this map. And it seems that a lot of people do have very varied experiences. I tend to see, maybe not a lot of heart rushes, but more than normal on this map, I think. More heart pressure at the very least. But I know a lot of people in chat have pointed out that they find it trivial to fend it off, and therefore it never works. Which is part of the reason why I like this map. Suckee's been my top MVP for a while until people finally figured out they actually kill it. You have to put in effort to killing it, though. And that's why I think Suckee catches people off guard, is they think they can ignore it, and then they realize, oh wait, I can't. And by that point, it's too late. Because you have to invest so much effort into actually removing it that you then fall behind at a more critical point in the game. So your opportunity to remove it has probably already passed. The appropriate opportunity to remove it has already passed. Yeah, you could say that about a lot of phobies, but I think Suckee is in a unique position. A level 30 Suckee would definitely have more than 30,000 HP. I could see it. We get a little Gonzo action here. I have been trying to force Gonzo in games, personally, since I unlocked it in this past season pack opening. And I don't really have a follow-up to that statement of, like, whether I like it or not. I think Gonzo's really good. I just haven't quite figured out the scenarios of, okay, this is a Gonzo board position, you know what I mean? Yeah, I think a lot of people have to remember, if you have max level phobies, or we're talking max level phobies, that the relationship between all of them, rounding with standing, is going to be the same as if they were all level 1. So, unless there's a ton of rounding that somehow makes something survive a breakpoint that it would not have before, you pretty much know how that's going to play out, sort of thing. So, something having, you know, a 2-key like Suckee having 3k HP, it sounds like a lot until you realize, well, yes, but like chat's pointing out, so does everything else at that level. And B, it's still gonna live or die to the same attacks that it did before. Part of the reason why I'm explaining all this is because we're just getting a key trading war between Bad Guy and our hero here. 14 keys, though, remaining for Bad Guy, only 11 for our hero. But there is already a spider on the board, which is a big deal. Gravediggers are going about demolishing the entire map, I guess because they can. Boomer is potentially interesting just because of the implications of the pull. There aren't quite enough ranged phobies here to ensure that everything is going to be safe. And truthfully, one thing I'll point out here, I don't necessarily like this break. Because imagine if you slide this up, break this, run the spider, yoink this, and then just blow up the Jin Sting or something. Or the Gonzo, for that matter. Because you could walk this up, you could walk this up, walk this up, walk this up. I think keeping the break here open to break this block opens up way more plays. Especially since Bad Guy doesn't seem very interested in getting their own spider. And I have to imagine they have one. Now, granted, they could pop out their own spider later on, but we'll see. So instead, we're just going to go for the Gonzo, and honestly, the way this positioning is, the spider could die. Because this hits... Oh, yeah, the spider should be dead. Never mind. Spider's super dead. The only question is, can our hero set up to punish the Hevo or something? Maybe the Ginsting should have slid up here? It might have died to Hevo, Ginsting, Jar? Probably not. Maybe Snowball. The spider trades for Gonzo, but the thing here is... This is in range of Erratic. Obviously, the Ginsting could supplement if needed. But Bad Guy is investing all their keys into Chuck and Sheep, and I don't know about that Bad Guy. You're not going to be able to kill this Sheep, though, I don't think. They're going for it, though. Or they're just going to tank the Sheep hit, which I think is fine. Gravedigger is the demolition team? I mean, yeah. They absolutely hated all these obstacles. Hey, Chad, just as an aside, I don't know if everybody remembers me streaming Gigabash, but Godzilla was announced as soon to be a playable character. So I might have to revisit Gigabash soon. After the spooky season, maybe. I want to see if they introduce ranked mode, too. I haven't played that game in a while. I don't know if it's in yet, Sgrunkly. I think it's supposed to get added, but I don't know if it's there yet. Yeah, I know everybody keeps pushing doors. I did try doors offline. We can talk about that after the game. But this was the issue with the Sheep. Basically, Erratic is able to tank it, heal up a little bit. It's going to be very low, but Erratic should survive the poison. I didn't double check the levels, but whatever. We'll find out in a minute anyway. Out of keys for Bad Guy, 4 remaining for our hero. No yoinks or boops on the board. But Panic Point advantage, Good Guy. So at this stage, there's the Electrocat. At this stage, it's just, can Chuck bully our hero away far enough to justify not recollapsing on it? And Bad Guy can claim the center panic point. At this stage, I think they just run the Gravedigger in to cap the point. Now, I think you need to actually commit to this. You're going to lose a key trading war, so you have to go for it if you're Bad Guy, I think. I see what you're saying, chat. We'll figure it out later. I don't know what the hell this Hevo is doing. It's killing that Erratic. Okay, that was way lower than I thought it was. I thought it still had another turn of poison. Meaning that it had more health. Our hero has had a panic point advantage for a while, but it's still 5,300 health. You're not going to dislodge this Quagmire anytime soon. But honestly, they may be able to just kill the heart, punching it with the snot monster, and just keep them busy with everything else. Oh, is this a dead Ginsting? Oh, baby! That's big. That's big. Yeah, so Bad Guy is clearly on the ropes. On the ropes here.
That feels
I mean, yeah, Chuck is in range, but kind of who cares? I was expecting the Electrocat to snipe the Hevo. I haven't played it, Bozo. I haven't played that. Looks like the opposing snot monster is going to go down. With the supplemental damage from the Electrocat. No, it's not enough unless this has fire. It does not. I like this Snowball sneaking and capping this panic point up here. Because again, The rest of your phobies are basically a distraction at this point. The rest of the phobies are just a distraction. They're not doing anything. Because they're not going to... I mean, the Jin Sting could get in range to also help out on the heart, but everything else is just tying up your opponent's stuff. Because they're not going to be able to kill the Quagmire. It's just going to take too long. The self-healing and the healing spire are just going to keep it alive. Panic point advantage hero. Oh, look at this, chat. The Electrocat. The hunter itself. Got him. The Electrocat takedown. So at this point, we're looking at 2100 health. This is full health. The Chuck is in range, but is only doing 1,000. They're bad guys. I mean, we know because the turn counter, but like... What bad guy had to do was respond to the Quagmire. You had to threaten the Quagmire 100 turns ago. Because this was... Tell me if you saw this coming, chat. Because I absolutely... This was 100% how I saw this game going. Once the Quagmire got down here, and bad guy didn't immediately start reacting. When they didn't even make an attempt to react to the Quagmire... And YouTube, let me know if you, in the comments, if you felt differently, but they were 100% dead to this. There was no way that they were going to get to the top to race. There was no way they were going to kill everything fast enough. They had to threaten the Quagmire, force it back, if not kill it, and then deal with everything else. You can cap all the panic points you want. There's too much damage down here. GG, well played, Rodizio. Well played. Got him. Although you don't have to hit the Gravedigger, it'll give you... So, as the losing player, you do want to probably hit things like that, which kind of elongates the game unnecessarily. Because then you get the XP or tiers or whatever. But as the winning player, I'm pretty sure it just gives you everything, so you don't have to hit the other phobies. You don't have to hit the heart if you're killing the phobies as the win condition, you know, whatever it turns out to be. You don't have to make the extra moves. If you're losing, you have to do whatever to get it. So if it's like the next to last turn, you know you're going to lose, do it, I guess. That way you can get something out of it, something a little extra. What do you do when your opponent summons the Flopsy crew? Just ignore them. So this is an 11-turn game, so we might be able to squeeze in another game review, chat, because this one's not going to last very long. We are on Phobos again, but this time our hero's in the blue trunks, and Sivadas has the first player initiative. So we are seeing the Flopsy Jackalope crew coming out. The question is, do they have the king? And I have to imagine they have the king or they wouldn't be doing this. This is legitimately a strategy I want to try and work on. But right now, sorry, I have an itch on my ankle. So I'm like leaning awkwardly into the mic. Spooky, scary skeletons. Are they really that spooky? I mean, my man's got the Tweedledum hat. Got socks on here. The bow is whatever. These make them look kind of silly, so... Alright, so no king, and instead Noxious, and they're... What is... Chat, what the... What is happening right now? What? If I was Sivadas right now, I'd be so confused. 6-0 panic point advantage. This is why this game is really short. They're really trying to get into the spirit of Halloween? Yeah, the conga line down here. In all seriousness, I do want to try... Okay, so there is a king. I do want to try Jackalopes as a strategy, as an opener, as, you know, whatever. But they just don't seem like they're there. You know what I mean? Now they're spooky. It's true. It's true. You see one of these in the woods, you're going to be a little worried. I mean, if you saw a jackalope at all, you'd probably be worried. But it's still a 4-2 panic point advantage. And Sivadas, our hero, is appropriately positioning. This feels like a game where I don't have a whole lot of commentary to add, truthfully. I think Sivadas just wanted to show off that somebody went jackalope herd, as the notes would imply. I really do want to try them, but I just don't... I don't know, they feel a little bit lacking, and honestly, because somebody had brought this up the other day, if they were good, I think it would actually be bad, as strange as that might sound. I think it would be bad for the game because this would probably be a fairly oppressive opener. While they are somewhat fragile, they aren't trivial to deal with. You don't just look at them funny and they die like AWOL. You might have to invest multiple attacks, and then if it's multiple attacks, that probably means you need like 3 phobies per jackalope to kill it. And if they were more formidable, health or damage-wise, that could be really problematic. That could be really problematic. Get a single jackalope and use it as a trap diffuser, dude. It's revive if you don't have tickles. That's exactly what I used to do, Taco. Before I got tickles and before... I mean, now it's just... Okay, I'll send a 1-drop, because most of the 1-drops will tank... most of the 1-drops will tank a trap, depending on the trap, obviously.
Splendid job. You nearly crushed them with anxiety.
Ball game. Ball game. Alright. Jackalope Swarm noted. Not necessarily a good strategy going second on Phobos. Now, that being said, I think the positioning from Bad Guy left a little bit to be desired. I know I've repeated that line a lot in general, but also tonight. But I don't know about that one. I don't know about that one. So since that one was so short, we will do one more. We will do one more. So we're zoning in here on Coulrophobia once again. Let's switch back here for a second. Jackalopes is like... The 3 jackalopes is like 6 keys, and the final one adds it up to 9 keys. Yeah, exactly. It's a lot of keys, and you're not necessarily getting the payoff you need. What are these... I don't even know what these notes are saying. Taco's saying things. I don't know what's happening. It would be funny if Resurrect Phobies revived after the heart died. Just for the hell of it. That would be kind of amusing. So we get a little werewolf, little werewolf avatar action to go with our embarrassed, sheepish numbskull. And, I mean, that's true, Taco. So, this is a notable game, because we were talking about Coulrophobia earlier. Yeah, this is not a short game, Taco. This is over 30 turns. We were talking about Coulrophobia earlier with the idea of just running the turrets, top and bottom. But we did see both players ultimately put Murder Wings as defenses here. A 1-0 panic point advantage for a hero, which kind of breaks the parity here. Well, it does break the parity, so we'll see how this plays out. So 2-0 panic point advantage. Are we going to see the K9 go in? I don't know about this Eternal Night. This feels weird. Bad Guy feels as though, or it appears as though Bad Guy has the phobie advantage. Both players were locked at 5 briefly, but now it's 4-5. I feel like they have the phobie advantage. I don't really know why they parked this here. It feels like they could have shuffled this differently and just not taken the lava damage this turn. You have the level advantage? Okay. Like I said, I don't necessarily agree with this Eternal Night, but this whole thing still kind of plays to what Hakune was saying earlier about the murder wings or whatever. I don't think Hakune was necessarily suggesting specifically murder wing, but something getting parked up here, either to body block the stem or just hold the stem. And an erratic follow-up. I don't really like the erratic here, because then you're going to have to walk it here, and it's in range of both of these, unless you body block with something else. Now, granted, the erratic can walk up and leech whenever it connects, so maybe, like, the lava damage doesn't matter that much. So yeah, you're going to leech the lava damage back, and it doesn't matter. Wait, what's 11 keys? How are the... It's 3 jackalopes and then the king, right? So 2, 4, 6, and then 3 more is 9? Where are the other 2 keys coming from? Did I miss something in chat? I'm looking at the wrong thing. I'm very confused. Yeah, I don't know where the 11's coming from. But anyway. So we get a Gonzo, which I kind of like here. Definitely a stalemate breaker. It'll allow you to advance with one of these turrets and get something in. But again, we're taking lava damage, which... I mentioned it before, you can't be afraid to take the lava damage. But our heroes had a panic point advantage for a while, 2-0 specifically. And then it was only ever turned off. So there's been a fair amount of damage going down, as you can see. 2750 on the heart. And Bad Guy doesn't really have a good way to assault this. They don't seem interested, seemingly, in fighting this to clear it out. And they can't advance to this. At this point, I don't even know how Bad Guy gets out of this, because they can't really threaten the erratic. Because the erratic is probably gonna... It's gonna be like 800. So, the Murder Wing's just going to die, because you juice the erratic, walk the jar up, kill this, and then you can just walk on the stem. And I don't know if you have enough damage. You have 10 keys, so you could pump out some big stuff, but I don't know if you have enough to actually kill the erratic in time. Welcome back, Honda. So Pterodactyl, okay. That's a decent way to respond here. But it's going to get beat up. Although, I don't know how you kill it. You have 5 phobies, so you can't necessarily walk to it very easily. The idea is just going to be you need to get it low enough that you can walk jar onto it. For obvious reasons. And finally, the bottom panic point is taken. But 1,850 health left. No, Bad Guy, not like this. What are you doing? You're just dead. This would be 4, 6, 700, 13. Maybe 14. Yeah, you don't quite have enough damage, because you could walk up with this, move this on here, kill this, fly over, have triple panic point advantage, but you're not going to have quite enough damage. So you got to be a little more patient as our hero, but, I mean, you're in a great position here. 0 keys to 2 keys. Get a little dancing bozo down here. Little dancing bow mangles. They've been doing the rounds, Taco. There's been a lot more scam bots going around, unfortunately. I guess this is okay. I mean, bad guy could pop out a droney here, which would be obnoxious. But if they're going 1 keys like this, it's going to take them time to walk it in. Hmm. 1100. This is a good play by bad guy taking the top because it does force these to interact instead of just walking up and fighting the pterodactyl if needed, which is at 800 health. So it wouldn't die. Actually, yeah, that 811. So this is 460. 7806. It would just live if you gonzo the erratic, so I guess it doesn't matter too much. Oh, this is a heads-up play. So you're going to recap all 3 points. You juice the jar. Well played. Well played, Taco. This is a good heads-up play. Erratic can jump that high but walk 1 move. It's true. Erratic has some strange movement properties, Onda. Very true. Yeah, GG, Taco. GG. Yeah, I'm still not happy about Coulrophobia, although the early Murder Wing is interesting. I'm still curious about if you go early Murder Wing and then just march the turret right into it. How does that play out? Am I going to play Five Nights at Freddy's tomorrow? I'm not sure. Luffy had suggested Ring of Pain, and I kind of want to play that, too. It's between Five Nights at Freddy's, Ring of Pain, and Mortuary Assistant. I'd have to buy 2 out of those 3, so I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to decide during the day. I'm going to decide during the day. Because I'm trying not to buy, like, every game, you know what I mean? Although some of the older Five Nights at Freddy's are cheap. It was, like, $5 or $6 kind of thing. But the Mortuary Assistant, I think, was, like, 20 or 25. And I still want to buy Ghostbusters, because I actually just want to play that game. It looks fun. But we'll see. And it's one of those games that, I'll be honest, I don't know how much longevity it's going to have. But I think it looks cool, and it also fits spooky season. But either way, we're a little bit over, but that's going to do it for tonight. So we will be back tomorrow, barring catastrophe, for some variety action. Waiting for Lippy to shut up. We'll be back tomorrow. If you're watching this on YouTube, hit up the links in the description. Likes and subscribes, of course, help. The links will lead you to either here on the live stream, RTJumpGG over on Twitch, or Random Thoughts Discord. That's where you submit game reviews, talk to people about phobies, other stuff. There's usually some funny stuff going on. But that's going to do it for tonight. So as always, everybody, thank you for listening, thank you for watching, and Black Lives Matter.